This overhead is probably the most important overhead about the difference between chiropractic care versus the medical model of health. And we're going to go over it with you. Full potential. We're all born with the full potential, and in the Bible it says we're born in the image of God, and God is perfect. Therefore our body was designed to be perfect. It knows how to take care of itself without any problems as long as there's no interference between the brain and the body. Now, if you ever doubt that, think of this wonderful miracle, your eye. For your eyeball to see and to work, there are 1 million different nerve endings that are formed in your brain. And there's the same million number of nerve endings in your eye. And as you're developing, all of those have to line up numerically 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 1 million times for your eyeball to work. If number 555 lines up with number 556, you're blind. But how many people do you know that are born that are blind? Very few. And not does that have to happen in one eye, it has to happen in two. That is truly amazing. And your pancreas knows how to regulate over 1 million different chemical reactions every single second, and nobody had to teach you how to do that. Luckily for us, we don't even remember where our keys are half the time. And so, what happens is we subject ourselves, though, to an overload of stress. Whether it's physical stress, chemical stress, or mental stress, your body reacts to it in the same way on the cellular level. And that, if you get an overload of it, causes your bones to get knocked out of place, and that's what we call a subluxation. Now let's back up a second. How could something emotional cause something physical like a bone to get knocked out of place? It's a legitimate question, and I want you to be armed with the answer. It's because of a physics law that you cannot create nor destroy energy, you can only transfer it. And therefore, when you have emotional energy that comes into your system that you don't release in a positive way, it gets stored in your spine and it causes your bones to shift out of place. So that's how emotional stress can cause a physical subluxation to happen. Now, let's talk to you about chemical stress. With the definition of a drug being any mind-altering substance, the number 1 abused drug in America today is sugar. Number 2 is caffeine. Number 3 is nicotine. Number 4 is alcohol. Number 5 is over-the-counter meds. Number 6 is prescription meds. And number 7, the least of the problems, is illegal drugs. And then we wonder why our Just Say No campaign was such a flop. It's because we were dedicating all of our energy to the least of the problems. And really the biggest problem has nothing to do with sugar. It's actually between our ears. It's called our mindset. Our mindset in this country especially is that for every ill, there's a pill that should get rid of it. And think about it. When you're growing up, that gets ingrained into your mindset, because when you fall down and you scrape your knee, your mom runs to the medicine cabinet and she gets you some ointment to put on your knee. And then when you get a runny nose, she runs to the medicine cabinet, she gets you some antihistamine. And then when you get a cough, she runs to that medicine cabinet and she gets you cough medicine. And then when you become a teenager and you finally get your confidence built up to do something like try out for a team or to ask somebody of the opposite sex for a date, and you fail miserably because they say, "Get away from me, you freak," or "You didn't quite make it," then we don't know how to handle that stress, and we run to that same medicine cabinet and there's nothing there that says ego blown out of the water. And so we don't know how to handle it. And we call our best friend up and we say, "You'll never believe what happened to me." And you explain the situation to them and you say, "When I went to that medicine cabinet, there was nothing there for me." And they're saying, "Because you're looking in the wrong medicine cabinet. It's the one that's plugged into the wall in the kitchen. And you know what? You look in the bottom shelf and it's probably labeled Reuniti or Budweiser. And you have a couple of those and you'll forget all about your problems." And so then that's the way we learn to deal with our problems. So we need to reset what we are thinking about how we got in the situations we got to. And it's a really tough pill to swallow, but we always get what we deserve. That's a really tough pill to swallow. You know, it's just like your computer. It doesn't know how to make a mistake. It's always operator error. Now it might not always been you that put that error in there, but it always is something that it was fed into, so it always reacts in the right manner. That's what your body does when it's given stress or something that it can't handle. It always makes the right decision as to what is necessary for you to survive. Okay, now That's how we get a subluxation. Now, if we stay in that state long enough, we get a disease process. Now, we're going to read the bottom two words together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Without symptoms. That means you have no idea this is happening yet, but look at the word right above it. It says pathology. That means that let me say that again. If this happens to a organ last week, we could take a slice out of it this week, stick it under the microscope, and say to you, you know what? There's a problem here. We have abnormal cells. We can give it a fancy word called a diagnosis, which is basically just the Latin word of what you told them in English, and tell you that, you know what, there is a treatment plan that we can put you on that can help stop it in its tracks and maybe even reverse it. But I don't know anybody in their right mind that's going to go to their medical doctor next week and say, you know what, I was at Dr. Craig's half-hour to health class last week, and he told me that I can have a disease process without any symptoms, and I don't feel quite right today, doc. So please take a slice out of every one of my organs, send them to the lab, call me next week and tell me what my problem is. He'd say, I know exactly what your problem is. He'd pull out a little piece of paper and start scribbling away. He'd say, here, go fill this. Remember, he was a medical doctor, so you have no idea what he wrote. But you can kind of make out the numbers at the bottom of that piece of paper. It's a phone number. And you want to know what this is all about. So you call the phone number. They answer it. Psychiatric ward here. How may we help you? And you're like, let me go back there and wring his neck. He didn't take me very serious. Even if he did, it would take hundreds of thousands of dollars every single time you didn't feel quite right. So, what do? We wait. We wait until we get symptoms. And when you get symptoms at first, what do? You say, it's no big deal. It's not that bad. I can live with it. I'm a man. I can take it. Or the one that really bothers me is when a healthcare professional tells you this is a part of the everyday aging process. Oh, that's like punching me in the jaw. That really bothers me because you know what they really are telling you? They have no idea what your problem is, but they're just too proud to tell you the truth. So if anybody ever tells you that, please go get a second opinion. Especially if they're looking at an x-ray and they tell you that and they say, you know what, down here at L4, L5, you have disc degeneration going on, but I wouldn't really worry about it too much because that's a part of the aging process. That's a lie, because if that's true, every single one of your discs would look just like that one did. So it can't be the truth. What really happened is there was an accident that happened to you and it wasn't taken care of properly and it started to degenerate. So now, what do we do when we get tired of having symptoms? We say, I'm going to go get some help. And look where we're at. We're one step away from rest and peace. And then we wonder why these magic lotions and potions don't get rid of the problems for us. It's because the medical model is designed for us just to cover up the symptoms. That's the same analogy. Remember I said a little bit earlier, if your bright red oil light comes on in your car and you say, I don't like that red oil light. It doesn't go real well with my gray interior. So I know how I'll get rid of it. I'll reach in the back seat for man's best friend. I'll pull out a piece of duct tape and I'll put it over top of that bright red oil light and it'll go away. And if you hang out with the positive mental thinking people, they'll tell you to whistle a happy tune. Forget about it, it'll go away. But it doesn't work that way. But that's exactly what we're doing with our bodies. When we get a symptom and we say, I don't have time for you. You are just irritating me, getting involved in my life that I just don't have room for you anymore. And so what we do is we tell it, shut up, get out of my life, cut it out, go away. And it doesn't work. All right? Now, what my job as a chiropractor is to do is to catch you at the subluxation stage and help prevent it from ever rolling down into that symptomatic, pathological problem stage. Now, that doesn't mean that you have no hope if you're out there with the subluxation and you have symptoms right now. But what that does mean is that without the subluxation in your system, every single day when your body regenerates new cells, millions and billions of them, that you're going to regenerate healthy cells that you want to keep for the rest of your life. And without those subluxations, you're going to want to hold on to them and the symptoms are going to start disappearing and you're going to start feeling better. With a subluxation in your system, it's going to regenerate unhealthy, nasty, degenerative cells that you want to get rid of now. So, my job is to keep you in this stage, hopefully keeping you from going down that slippery slope. Now, it has nothing to do with back pain, neck pain, headaches. It has everything to do with a lifestyle of health and wellness.